Chapter 23. The day of the actual competition dawns bright and chilly. I shiver in the early March air as Mrs. V and I wait for my school bus. My jacket feels good. We've decided to use the manual chair today since the electric one, even with the car ramps, is a little too heavy for Mom to handle on her own. You ready, Mellow Yellow? Mrs. V asks me. Oh, yeah. Your head feels like it's gonna pop with all those facts stuck inside, she teases. Oh, yeah, I grin at her. You'll do fine, better than fine, dynamite, possibly awesome, Mrs. V says. Oh, yeah, I push again. We'll all be downtown in the audience cheering you on. And the team? There are others on the team? She asks, smacking herself on her forehead. I thought you were a solo act. And teams from other schools? Don't worry, you're smarter than all of them, but put together. So we'll be cheering the loudest your mom and dad and me and Penny. Do I look okay? Mrs. V looked me up and down. Like a television star, she replies. Your mom tucked an extra blouse in your bag just in case. Catherine knows what to do. I'm glad Catherine will be going with us, and I think Mr. Dimming is glad as well. Tell me the plan again. Your mom will pick you up from school, take you to get a bite to eat, and get you to the TV studio about 15 minutes before the rest of the contestants. Penny and your dad and I will meet you there. TV folks won't freak out when I show up. They are well prepared for you. Actually, it's possible a few reporters might be there and want to talk to you. Me? Why? I can't imagine why any news person would want to talk to somebody who can only talk through a machine. How boring. You're a wonderful human interest story. Other people might be interested in knowing more about you. They won't make fun of me. Just the thought of it makes my palms sweaty. Mrs. V takes my hand in hers. Not at all. They'll admire you, I'm sure. You are Spalding Street Elementary School's own personal Stephen Hawking. They're lucky. Hope so. Here's your bus. Have a great day, Melody. I'll see you tonight. I managed to get through the day without spilling anything on my clothes, and I'm relieved to see Mom when the last bell rings at school. After a quick meal of macaroni and applesauce in the car, smart mom, nothing red, we head downtown. We find a handicapped parking spot right in front of the studio, and after the usual unloading the chairs down the car ramp, seating me and strapping me in, then attaching Elvira, we roll inside. The receptionist, a chunky, pleasant woman with lots of makeup and frizzy hair, directs us to the staging area. I have to blink a little to figure it all out. Everything you see on TV is fake. I see the place where they film the news when I watch it on television at home. It looks like the reporters were sitting in front of a huge window that shows all of downtown. But it's just a painting, and it's pretty small. So is the desk where the reporters sit. It seems so much bigger from home. I recognize a couple of the reporters who I watch every day. I can't believe how skinny the morning lady is. On TV, she looks normal size. I'm going to look like a huge balloon when the camera shows me. Speaking of cameras, they are huge, like giant black mechanical space beings on wheels. Guys with headphones and women with clipboards run around checking stuff. The back part of the studio is dark, but the place where the contest will take place is lit brightly. I can see where the teams will stand and the big buttons they'll push for the answers. In another room behind all of the cameras and the action are the benches where the audience sits. Some people have already started to file in. I can see them through a large glass window. I jump when Catherine taps me on the shoulder. Fascinating, huh? For real, I type. She and Mom chat a bit before a man wearing jeans and a Cincinnati Bengals sweatshirt approaches me. Excuse me, he says to me, but are you Melody Brooks? Surprised, I quickly hit yes. My name is Paul, and I am the stage manager. His huge hand swallows mine as he shakes it. I'm glad you're here early. Let's see if we have you set up correctly. We're really glad to have you participate. He spoke directly to me, not Mom or Catherine. I like him already. We roll across the studio, careful to avoid cords and wires, and enter the area where the competition will take place. This is where the members of each team will stand, he explains. They each have four large buttons to push. Red is for the letter A, blue is for the letter B, yellow is for the letter C, and D, of course, is green. I nod. And here, Miss Melody, is where you will sit, right next to your teammates. I have rigged a special answer board for you, so it's adjusted to the height of your wheelchair. He looked pretty proud of himself as he shows me the setup. Wow, I type, this is perfect. How did you know? My son is in a wheelchair, he says with a shrug. I build stuff for Rusty all the time, but there's no way he could do what you're about to do. He kneels down so he can look me in the eye. Knock their socks off, champ. Rusty will be watching. Okay, I type, for Rusty. He rolls me behind my answer board and lets me practice with the four color coded buttons. Because they are so large, hitting the right one is actually easier than using my MediTalker. I don't even have to aim with my thumb, I can use my whole fist. Then I hit the red button, the letter A lights up on the screen in front of me to lock in the answer. Thanks, Paul, I type. Very, very much. He winks, gives all of the buttons a quick punch to make sure they all light up, then tells me he'll see me later. I can do this, I tell Mom and Catherine. I'm ready. The rest of our team starts to arrive. Connor, dressed in a black suit with a red tie, actually looks good. Rose, blushing and nervous, is wearing pale blue. Hi, Melody, she says. Are you scared? Nope, not at all, I type. My mom made me wear this tie, Connor explains as he rolls his finger inside his shirt collar to loosen it. I hope I don't choke on live TV. If he does, at least the attention will be on him instead of me. What if I do something stupid, or if I start to drool and the camera does a close up? Amanda, Rodney, Molly, and Elena, the alternates, took a little sad as they look a little sad as they wander around the studio. They won't get a chance to participate unless something happens to disqualify one of the four of us. I guess that includes Connor fainting or me convulsing. Are you okay? I hear Rose ask Amanda. Yeah, but it's just like I'm all dressed up with nothing to do. I feel you, Rose says. Break a leg, Amanda tells her. Really? Rose smiles. That's what you're supposed to say for good luck, Amanda explains. I know, but look at it this way. At the finals in Washington, there are 6 people on the team, so that opens things up a little. So go out there and win. Will do. Claire and Molly makes funny faces in front of the cameras, pretending they are on the air. Neither speak to me. Look, Claire, Molly says, her voice for once in awe of something. You can see your reflection in that camera over there. Do I look okay? Claire asks, smoothing her dress. You look great, Molly assures her. You know, it really ought to be you up there instead of Melody, Claire says loud enough for me to hear. Well, I'm ready if she messes up, Molly whispers back. I just shake my head and think, delete, delete, delete. No way am I letting their negativity mess me up. I have enough to worry about. Mr. Dimming hurries in, then, wearing a brand new navy blue suit, a fresh white shirt, and a red vest and tie. The whole team cheers, and Connor gives him a high five. He buzzes around for a bit like a nervous bumblebee. He checks on details, wishing us all good luck, then goes to sit in the observation area. No teachers are allowed near the students during the competition. Catherine is allowed to stand in the back behind the cameras just in case I have an emergency. Other teams start to fill the studio as well. One team from Green Hill Academy is all dressed in Kelly green sweaters. Not a bad idea, but the sweaters are ugly. Another team from Crown Elementary is wearing little fake crowns on their heads. That seems to be a little over the top. Our team hasn't done anything special. They don't need to. They have me. Chapter 24. It's time. Cameras rolling, someone calls out in 5, 4, 3, 2. He points at the man at center stage. The moderator, a slim guy with hair that looks like it has been glued into place, brushes a speck off his tuxedo, adjusts his red striped tie, and begins speaking right on cue. Good evening, he says, with that perfectly modulated voice that announcers seem to be born with. My name is Charles Kingsley, and I'd like to welcome you to the Whiz Kids Southwest Ohio Regional Competition. Cheers all around. In 2 weeks, the winner of this competition will travel to Washington, D.C. to represent our area at the national championships. More cheers. We wish the best of luck to all our young competitors. The studio quiets. The rules are simple, Mr. Kingsley explains. Teams will be asked 25 questions. Each correct answer from each 4-member team is worth 1 point, so the maximum total team score is 100 points. He pauses to the cameras so the cameras can show the scoreboard. Then he announces, the 2 teams with the highest scores from all preliminary rounds will meet for what we call a quiz-off, so point totals are critical. The winner, that final set of quiz questions, will be declared our local elementary school level champion and will proceed to the nationals in Washington. The team that emerges as the winner will appear live on national television on Good Morning America the next morning. Cheers and applause. Our first two teams to compete tonight will be Woodland Elementary and Spalding Street Elementary. Take your places, ladies and gentlemen. The four contestants from Woodland and the other three members of our team walk to the testing area, waving for the cameras. Catherine rolls me to my position, makes sure I can easily reach the buttons, then she gives me a quick hug and walks away. I'd like to take a moment, Mr. Kingley says, to introduce a very special participant in our competition tonight. Her name is Melody Brooks. The camera all point in my direction. The studio lights are incredibly bright and hot. I blink rapidly. I feel damp and sweaty. Although the other contestants will stand, Melody will be seated as she answers the questions. We've made adjustments to our answer board so that she can access the buttons, but nothing else. I hear she's a fierce competitor. I try to wave, but I figure I look goofy and wobbly, so I pull my hand down. Rose stands next to me with Connor in the middle and Claire on the far end. I feel like I'm going to throw up, I hear Claire whisper. Don't you dare, Connor hisses. We'll start with a practice round so you can familiarize yourself with our button system. Everyone ready? Which of the following is a mammal? A. Cat. B. Bird. C. Turtle. D. Spider. Everybody, including me, pushes A, of course. The screens in front of us light up with the letter A. Don't you wish all the questions would be that easy? Mr. Kingsley asks, chuckling. You're right. Remember two things, he reminds everyone. First, this is a team competition. And second, this is not a test of speed, but of accuracy. Teams get more points if all four contestants come up with the correct answer, and the two teams with the most points meet for the finals. Are we ready? Ready, the seven contestants on stage answers. I start to hit the word ready on my board, but I decide to concentrate on the contest instead. Round one, we'll have 25 questions. Let us begin. Number one. I tense. Here we go. The average lifespan of an adult mayfly can range from A, 1 minute to 1 hour, B, 30 minutes to 1 day, C, 1 day to 1 week, or D, 2 weeks to 1 month. Bing, 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 bing. Everyone hits their buttons. Once the answers are locked in, the readouts are displayed. Everyone on our team answered B. One person on the Woodland team answered A. Mr. Kingley smiles and said, Woodland has 3 points and Spalding now has 4 with all correct responses. We can do this. I can do this. Bring on the next one. Number 2, he intones. The battles of Lexington and Concord in the American Revolutionary War were fought in what year? A. 1774. B. 1775. C. 1776. Or D. 1777. That one is a little tricky. I press B, however. So does everyone else. The score is now 7-8. Mr. Kingsley continues. In literature, the word oxymoron means which of the following? A. A combination of contradictory words. B. The outcome of a sequence of events. C. An implied reference to a literary or historical event. D. A symbolic story or narrative. I am fairly sure the answer is A, but that word could mean big-headed crippled kid who thinks she can win in a national quiz competition. When the answer is shown on the screen, Connor got it wrong, and so did 2 members of the Woodland team. So the score now is set at Woodland 9, Spalding 11. We're still up, but we have 22 more questions to go. The next question, Mr. Kingley says, deals with math. Oh crap, I'm dead meat. There are 2,357 paintings in an art museum. The museum has 124 rooms, which is the reasonable estimate for the number of paintings in each room. A 10, B 20, C 200, D 200, or C 60, D 200. Yep, dead. Rotten meat. Let's see. I've got to visualize a museum and rooms and lovely paintings. How many in a room? Not sure. Divide what into what? Not sure. I'm going to say 60. When the answer flashes as B, I feel like an idiot. But Rose got it wrong too, and so did 2 kids on the Woodland team. The score stands at 13-11. By the time we get to the 25th question, I'm sweaty and thirsty, but I'm pumped. The lead bounced back and forth between the 2 teams a couple of times. Sometimes they were in front of us, and sometimes we forged ahead with points. I got most of the language arts answers right, but the math questions stumped me. Connor can't spell, so he missed several of those questions. Rose is weak in history. Claire has trouble with science. The Woodland team was about the same. Some kids good in some areas, others good in others. We now come to the final question in our first two teams, Mr. Kingsley announces. He clears his throat and begins. A weather event that measured 6.5 on the Richter scale would be A, tornado, B, hurricane, C, earthquake, or D, tsunami. Bing, 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 bing. I punch C and relax. I did not have a tornado spaz. Connor, Rose, and Claire all got the final question correct as well. Two people on the Woodland team answered hurricane instead. When the results are tallied, our team has a total of 81 points. Woodland ends up with 77. Congratulations, Spalding, Mr. Kingsley says with a polished smile. The two highest scoring teams will meet for the final round later tonight. Good luck, and we hope to see you again. Victory for round one. As the show breaks for commercial, we all are escorted to a special waiting room in the back. The students from Woodland look really disappointed. That's it for them for the whole competition. All they can do now is watch as the second two teams head to the stage for their session under the lights. Mom, Dad, Penny, Mrs. V, and Catherine are all waiting for me in the back room, hugging me and kissing me like I've won the lottery or something. Catherine does a little happy dance. Dad tells me he filmed the whole thing on his camcorder. You rocked, Melody, Miss V shouts. I am so proud of you, sweetie. My mom says, Can I have a Coke? I type as quickly as I can. I feel breathless. Everybody laughs as Catherine rushes to find me a paper cup for the sodas that are sitting on ice in the waiting room for the contestants. Mom pours dribbles of the ice cold Coke into my mouth, one sip at a time, making sure I don't spill on my shirt. I am so thirsty. I don't even care that people from the other teams are staring at me. Mr. Dimming, after talking to Rose and Connor and Claire, bounds over to us, beaming. This is such a thrill, Melanie. You are amazing out there. I'm so proud of our team and extremely proud of you. Thanks, I tap. What's next? We wait for the next team to compete, then we'll meet and beat the other high scoring team and pack our bags for Washington. Don't pack yet, I type with a grin on my face. I've been packed for 10 years, he tells me. I've just been waiting for the right team. This is our year. I just know it. He wanders off to talk to the other parents. I never thought about what teachers dream about. I had no idea what a big deal this is for him. Rose comes over and squats down next to Penny. I like your hat, she tells Penny, who is holding Doodle closely and wearing a blue polka dot hat with a red feather. Woozy, Penny says gleefully. How's my favorite baby girl? Rose says in her whispery voice. Wozy, Penny repeats. You did really good, Melody, Rose says to me. You too, I type. You think we have a chance for the finals? Yep. And Washington? Yep. And being on Good Morning America? Oh, yeah. Claire stays on the other side of the room with her parents, but Connor ambles over and stands next to Rose. You're okay, Melody, he says. You beat me on a couple of those. You rock in math, I tell him. I know, he replies with a grin, but I still can't spell. I hope they don't have any spelling questions in the finals. I gotta go to the bathroom, Rose says suddenly. I am so nervous about the finals. She hurries out. I know what she means. Butterflies, moths, giant bumblebees flutter inside me. When we were on camera, it felt like it took a million years to complete our round, but in just a few minutes, the second set of contestants come back on the waiting room. The school with the little crowns won round two with 79 points. Then, within another half hour, Edison Elementary clinches the third round with a score of 80. Finally, a school called Perry Valley wins the fourth round with 82 points, just 1 point more than us. I watch them, Mrs. V tells me, with their troop back into the room, excited and victorious. They're really, really good. Should we worry, I ask? Of course not. Our team is the best because they have a secret weapon, you. Suddenly, there is a rush of activity in the room as stagehands come in to get us. Perry Valley and Spalding Street, we need you back on camera for the finals. You are our two top scoring schools. Congratulations. We hurry back to our places. The lights seem brighter this time. Mr. Kingsley returns to his position, gets his microphone adjusted by the stage crew, and shouts, Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the final round of our regional Whiz Kids competition. The winners of this round will represent us all in Washington, D.C. in just 2 weeks. All members of the winning team, along with their chaperones, will receive an all-expense paid trip to our nation's capital, 3 nights in a hotel, and tours of the city. Trophy, trophy, someone yells. Oh, the famous WizKid Championship Award. The winning team in Washington gets to take home that huge golden trophy. They receive a guest appearance on Good Morning America, and their school will receive a check for $2,000 to be used for academic endeavors. Lots of whoops at that. Let us begin, teams. Are you ready? Ready, they all reply. I am ready too. Chapter 25. Oh my gosh, what a night. I still can't believe how everything turned out once the championship round began. That's when Mr. Kingsley explained. The questions this time will be a bit more difficult. Scoring, however, will be the same. The team with the best score of 100 possible points will be our champion. He picked up the cards that contained the quiz questions and smiled. Here is the question number 1. What is diplopia? A. Double vision. B. Left handedness. C. A disease of the gums. Or D. A form of cancer. Oh boy, he wasn't kidding. This was going to be a killer round. I was sure the answer was A, though. Kind of. When the answer was revealed, double vision was correct. Whew! Rose, Connor, and I got it right. Claire missed it. Everyone on the Perry Valley team answered it correctly. The score was 3-4. Number 2, Mr. Kingsley said. Who is the composer of Rhapsody in Blue? A. Mozart, B. Gershwin, C. Copland, D. Beethoven. Bing, 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 bing. Thanks to my parents and Mrs. V, that was a little easier. I pushed the button for B. One person on the Perry Valley team got it wrong, and Claire messed up as well. That made the score 6-7 with Perry Valley ahead. Everybody could feel the tension. The next 20 questions covered things like lions in the jungle, gravity in space, authors of famous books, and math. Some of those I even got right. Bing, 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 bing. Even though Connor aced a hard spelling problem and Claire came through on a difficult history question, Perry Valley kept staying 1 or 2 points ahead of us. It was getting near the end of the round. Perry Valley had surged ahead on a math question and was up by 3 points. It looked pretty grim for us, with a score of 78-81. I glanced at Connor. Sweat dripped from his nose. Then Mr. Kingsley asked, the condition in which a person may be able to hear colors or visualize flavors when music is played is called A. Synthesis, B. Symbiosis, C. Synthesia, or D. Symbolism. I grinned and punched in C. Not only was it one of Mrs. V's vocabulary words, it was me. I breathed a sigh of relief when I realized that Connor and Claire and Rose also had chosen the right answer. When the results were tallied, only one of the Perry Valley kids had gotten it right. The score stood at 82-82. It was time for the very last question. This one would determine the group that would go to Washington. I glanced at Rose and the others. I think we all gulped at the same time. Our last question of the evening, Mr. Kingsley began, is a mathematic problem. I groaned inside. There goes our trip to Washington. I might as well go back to room H5 and hide there for the next 1,000 years. Number 25, Mr. Kingsley said slowly. Lisa gets up every morning and gets ready for school. She takes 22 minutes to get dressed, 18 minutes to eat breakfast, and 10 minutes to walk to school. What time should Lisa get up so she can arrive at school at 7:25 a.m.? A. 6:15 a.m., B. 6:20 a.m., C. 6:25 a.m., or D. 6:35 a.m. I need to add then subtract. How do I subtract time? I need to see a clock. I'm getting all mixed up. Time is running out. I can't mess up now. It could have been C, but it might have been D. I thought a moment more. Then I pushed D, feeling like I was going to throw up. The answer lit up on the screen. Everybody on our team had answered D. Either we were all correct or all terrible at figuring out time problems. 3 students on the Perry Valley team had answered D. One of them had answered C. Well, it looks like we have a winner, ladies and gentlemen. I am extremely pleased to announce that the team will represent us in Washington, D.C. this year. The team we hope to see on Good Morning America with a score of 86-85 is, he paused for effect, Spalding Street Elementary School. I couldn't help it. I squealed. I kicked. My arms jerked crazily. I tried really hard to control it, but I just couldn't help it. My body went a little wacko on me. Shut her up, I heard Claire hiss. Shh, Rose whispered through clenched teeth. Thank you for watching our telecast, Mr. Kingsley said, throwing a quick glance at me. Please join us in 2 weeks when we televise the finals from Washington. This is Charles Kingsley. Good night. He signaled that he was finished. The cameras blinked to dark and the lights blessedly clicked off. I couldn't stop kicking. My arms acted like wind-up toys gone bananas. I screamed with joy. At least nobody noticed this time because hoots and hollers abounded as dozens of people stormed the stage. Dad balanced Penny in one arm and the camcorder in another. Mom, Catherine, and Mrs. V rushed over to me and almost smothered me with hugs. Mrs. V tried to look as if she weren't surprised, but her grin seemed to be permanently attached. Mr. Dimming, the alternatives, and all of the parents of the rest of the kids on the team cheered and jumped and patted one another on the back. One of the parents streamed confetti over us. Balloons appeared from nowhere. Somebody in the studio turned the speakers up loud and played the song Celebration. People started to dance. It seemed as if a million pictures were taken. Amazingly, lots were being taken of me. I did my best to calm down and relax. Smile, Melody, called a guy with a baseball cap. Click, flash. Can somebody sit her up a little straighter in her chair? Click, flash. Get a picture of the kid in the wheelchair. I think that guy was a reporter. Click, flash. Where's the winning team? Another reporter asked loudly. We want a team picture for the newspaper. Why don't you kids stand around Melody? Okay, now smile. Click, flash. I could barely see. Blue dots danced in front of my eyes. We want the winning team for a TV interview. Someone else called out. Can we have them over here? People were shuffled around, and a stagehand helped us up. Connor, Rose, and Claire sat in chairs next to me. Amanda, Molly, Elena, and Ronnie stood behind us. Mr. Dimming stood next to Rodney. I hoped that my hair looked okay and that I wouldn't look too goofy. The reporter silenced the crowd as the cameraman lined up and got into position. Good evening. This is Elizabeth Okaya of Channel 6 News. I'm here in our studio as we speak to students from Spalding Street Elementary School, victorious members of the winning team of the Whiz Kid competition held here tonight. These are 8 of the brightest young people in our community who buzzed their way to victory tonight. Let's meet them. We'll start with the alternates in the back row, the youngsters who will fill in should one of the team members not be able to participate. Please tell me your names and ages, she asked as she put the microphone in front of each student. Amanda Firestone, age 12, Molly North, age 11, Elena Rodriguez, age 12, Ronnie Masul, age 11 and a half. That got a laugh. Miss Okaya continued, and seated in front of me is the championship team. Please tell me your names as well. My name is Claire Wilson, and I'm 11, and I got more right than anyone else on my team. Good for you, Miss Okaya said. I know you studied hard for this. The reporter moved quickly to Rose. And you are Rose Spencer, age 11, Rose said, sounding shy. What stands out for you this evening? The reporter asked as the camera moved in closer. I was on last year's team, and we lost by only a few points, so it's real exciting to win this time. I'm very proud of our team, Rose was beaming. Great answer, and we're proud of you as well, Miss Okaya said. And now, to this tall young man, your name, sir? He asked Connor. Connor Bates. Hi, Mom. Connor spoke loudly into the mic. Do you remember the hardest question you were given tonight? The reporter asked him. I thought all the questions were super easy, Connor said with a grin. I missed a few on purpose so the other contestants wouldn't feel bad. Miss Okaya burst into a tinkering laugh. How does it feel to be on a team with your very special team member? She asked. Hey, Melody is okay. She's really smart. Let me introduce you to. But I wasn't about to let him steal my thunder. My name is Melody Brooks, and I'm 11 years old, my machine said loudly and clearly. The reporter looked amazed. Well, this is astounding. How does it feel to be a part of a winning team, Melody? I pressed my key for super. She laughed. Was it difficult to study and prepare for the competition? Miss Okaya asked. No, lots of people helped me. What was the hardest part about participating tonight? Hoping I wouldn't mess up. She smiled. We all feel like that sometimes. Are you excited about traveling to Washington, D.C.? Oh, yes. Have you ever been there before? No. How will being on the winning team change your life at school? I thought that was a good question. Not much, I admitted. Then the reporter waited patiently while I took the time to tap the right words. Maybe kids will talk to me more. I talk to her all the time, Claire interjected. Both Rose and Connor looked at her with frowns. Huh? Rose said. Miss Okaya moved away from me and over to Claire. So you consider yourself to be Melody's friend? Oh, absolutely, Claire said, with a bounce of her cinnamon-colored curls. She and I eat lunch together every day and test each other on questions for the quiz team. Melody's a lot smarter than she looks. Rose raised her hand to speak, but the reporter shook her head. I'm so sorry, but we're out of time, she told Rose. To the camera, she said, in addition to a great group of kids, we've just met 2 remarkable young women, best friends in spite of their differences, and members of the winning Washington-bound Whiz Kids quiz team. Congratulations to all. I was stunned. Claire? Chapter 26. In the midst of all of the commotion, Mr. Dimming seemed to get an inspiration. Let's go out to dinner to celebrate, he announced as the last of the studio lights were turned off. Great idea, Connor said immediately. I'm starving, said Amanda. Even though I wasn't on camera, I've been so nervous to eat all day. Me too, Elena added. What about linguinis? Connor suggested. They've got all you can eat spaghetti. Leave it to Connor to know all the best places to eat. They might go out of business after you show up, Connor, Mr. Dimming said with a laugh. Don't go embarrassing me now. Don't worry, Mr. D. My max is about 12 bowls of spaghetti. Linguini's is perfect, Rose's dad said. It's walking distance just around the corner from the studio. These kids deserve a special night out. I looked at Mom, not sure if this was a good idea. Then Elena walked over to me and said, You'll come too, won't you, Melody? Yeah, Melody, Rose added. Come with us. You did really great tonight. We couldn't have won without you, Connor said as he buttoned up his coat. Their words made me feel like one of the helium balloons that some families had brought. Well, I wouldn't go that far, Molly said, glancing at Claire. Balloons do pop. You weren't up there, Connor reminded Molly. So you coming or not? Rose asked. Sure, I tapped. It will be fun. I glanced at Mom again, who nodded. Dad took Penny home, and Mrs. V gave me a hug and promised she'd see me in the morning. The air was brisk and the conversation silly as we headed to the restaurant. How many windows do you think are in that office building? Connor shouted, pointing to the tallest one we could see. 5,274, Rose answered. Man, you're good, Ronnie said. How did you know that? How do you think I got on the quiz team? Rose told him, I've got smarts. She's just guessing, Molly told Rodney. You believe anything. The restaurant had been in that location for years. The outside entrance was designed to look like a bistro from a small Italian village. Painted grape leaves and tiny white lights decorated the bricks around the door. The door. Connor's dad opened it for everyone to enter. Connor and Rodney bounded up the steps. The steps. 5 stone steps led upstairs to the dining area. Everyone, including Mr. Dimming, rushed past me and Mom. Finally, Connor's dad, the last to go up, looked at me, looked at the stairs, and the light bulb came on. Do you need some help? He asked. He was large, like his son. I bet he could swallow a few bowls of pasta as well. Mom replied, Would you be so kind to ask an employee where the wheelchair ramp is located? As if glad to have something to do, Mr. Bates dashed up the steps. Mom and I sat there in the cold, alone. A waiter dressed in black rushed down moments later. I'm so sorry, we have an elevator in the back, but it just went on the fritz this afternoon. The technician is coming to fix it first thing in the morning. That's not going to help us tonight, is it? Mom told him. Her voice was tight but not angry. I'll be glad to help you carry her up the steps, he offered. No, I tapped. My eyes begged Mom. Mom told him, Just hold the door for us, young man. We'll be fine. He did just that. Mom turned her back to the stairs, got a good grip on my chair, tilted it back slightly, and took a deep breath. I was so glad we had decided on the manual chair this morning. Mom gently rolled the back wheels up the edge of the first stone step. Pull, roll up, bump, first step. Pull, roll up, bump, second step. Pull, roll up, bump, third step. She paused and took another breath. We'd done this before, many times. Pull, roll up, bump, fourth step. Pull, roll up, bump, fifth step. Then we finally rolled into the dining room, which was crowded with noisy, laughing customers. Over here, Melody, Mr. Dimming called as he saw us. Mom led me over to our very large table, and I was relieved to see that the group had left a spot for me. With all the kids on the team plus their parents, we took up a big chunk of the table space in the place. In some restaurants, the tables are too low for my chair, but this time I was able to slide perfectly into place. Mom helped me take off my coat, then sat in the seat next to me. She gulped the water from her glass and asked for a refill. The waitress began to take orders. Ronnie and his parents ordered a large mushroom and onion pizza. We're vegetarians, Ronnie explained. I had no idea. Can I get a steak, Dad? Connor asked. His dad clapped him on the back. Sure, I think I'll have one myself. For this one night, you get anything you want. Connor's eyes got large. A whole chocolate cake? You'll barf, boy, his dad replied. I want the pasta delight, Rose told the waitress, with extra cheese. Me too, said Amanda. May I have the spaghetti and meatballs, please? Elena asked. Claire and Molly both ordered lasagna. When the waitress got to me and Mom, I was ready. I'll have mac and cheese, please, I made Elvira say. The waitress looked a little surprised, since most of the machine was tucked under the table, but she was cool and acted as if she got orders from many talkers every day. Sure, hon, coming right up. You want some salad with that? No, thanks. She gave me a real big smile, then took Mom's order. Only my mom would order baked fish at an Italian restaurant. As we waited for our food, the cheerful mood continued. Our tables were covered with white paper instead of tablecloths, so everybody, including the adults, had had been given crayons and markers. Look at this! I drew a giant monster rabbit, Connor said. He glanced at Rose's drawing, then added large green teeth to his own. And it's going to eat that wimpy bug you just drew, he told her. Rose laughed. Well, this is a poisonous spider and it's going to bite your silly old rabbit. Rodney and Connor then lined up all the salt and pepper shakers and started tossing sugar packets over the barricade with the forks and spoons as catapults. But I noticed that Claire, who was sitting next to Rodney, was strangely quiet and didn't even pick up a crayon. Engage the enemy, Connor cried. Score! You weren't even in my territory, man. Besides, you tossed the pink fake sugar stuff. You only get half a point for that stuff. I sat and watched my teammates do such ordinary things, drawing, laughing, teasing, joking. I really tried hard to look like I was having fun too, but all I wanted to do was go home. When the waitress finally brought the food, forks became important for eating and the war ended suddenly. Conversation slowed down as everybody dug into their meals. Connor took a huge bite of his steak. This is the bomb, he said when his mouth was full. Mom's fish looked a little, well, fishy as she picked at it with her fork. She and I were thinking the same thing I knew. My food sat untouched in front of me. Our family goes out to restaurants every once in a while. Actually, Penny is more of a problem in a restaurant than I am because she's wiggly and excitable and she's likely to throw her peas on the floor. Usually, eating out doesn't bother me. Mom and Dad take turns spooning food into my mouth, and I ignore anyone who is rude enough to stare. But this was different. At school, I eat in a special area of the cafeteria with the other disabled kids. The aides put bibs on us, feed us, and wipe our mouths when we're done. With the exception of that sip of Coke at the competition, nobody on the team had ever really seen me eat. Rather, be fed. I didn't know what to do. My food was there getting cold. I looked at Mom. She looked at me. She picked up the spoon and looked at me with a question on her face. I nodded. Very carefully, she placed a spoonful of pasta in my mouth. I swallowed. I did not spill. I saw Molly poke Claire and they exchanged looks. Mom spooned one more portion into my mouth. I swallowed. I did not spill. We continued, one spoonful at a time. I was so hungry. Nobody said anything, but I saw them look down at their plates the way with way too much attention. It got quiet. Even Connor stopped talking. Finally, even though my plate was still full, I pushed it away. Would you like to take this home, Melody? Mom whispered. I nodded yes, hugely relieved that she signaled for the waitress, who also brought dessert menus. Being reminded of cake and ice cream cheered up Connor, who did not order a whole chocolate cake but did order 2 slices. Ronnie ordered apple pie while Rose asked for pudding. Claire ended up taking her food home in a box as well. She had eaten almost nothing and barely said 2 words all evening. So, what did you think about the final question? That was too hard, Ronnie said. Piece of cake, Connor replied, laughing at his own joke. He smeared whipped cream over a second piece of cake. Did you see the hair on that announcer? Amanda teased. It never moved. Must have been made of plastic, Rose said, laughing. What are you wearing to the DC competition? Rose asked Claire. Claire just shrugged. I wonder if we'll get to visit the White House while we're there, Amanda mused. Well, that would be awesome. I believe it's on our agenda for Saturday, Mr. Dimming replied enthusiastically. I'm excited about that as well. So what's with you and Melanie being best friends, Claire? Elena asked. Claire didn't answer, but she rubbed her hand over her forehead. I don't feel so good, she said weakly. Is it hot in here? No one had time to answer, for at that moment Claire stood up suddenly, clamped her hand over her mouth, and stumbled from her seat. Are you okay? Mr. Dimming asked. Before he could finish the question, Claire threw up all over his new shoes. Oh, gross, Connor said, obviously trying not to laugh. Poor thing, Rose said. Whoa, what a stink, man. Rodney covered his nose. Claire's mom rushed her to the bathroom. Mr. Dimmings rushed out as well, I guess to clean off his shoes. I wondered if Claire felt as embarrassed as I had while Mom was feeding me. Our little victory celebration was clearly over. Parents gathered coats and checks and paid their tabs. Claire returned from the restroom looking pale. No one mentioned the incident. We all headed for the steps. I thought. Claire gets sick in the middle of a crowded restaurant, yet I'm the one everybody looks at sideways. They all had to wait for me and Mom. We took our time. Push gently, roll down, bump, top step. Push gently, roll down, bump, next step. Push gently, roll down, bump, third step. And 5 bumps down to the bottom of the steps. And I was still so hungry. Chapter 27. The next morning, Mom bounds into my room holding a newspaper. "Good morning, my rock star," she greets me. "Guess what?" Rock star? She's tripping. I turn to look at her. My face says what? "You're famous!" Huh? She gets me out of bed, straps me into my chair, unplugs the Talker from the charger, and hooks me up. Then she places the morning paper on top of it. There I sat, plastered on the front page of the newspaper in color. "Wow," I type. "The article is all about the team winning the competition, but yours is the only picture they used. Interesting." "Why me?" Mom smiles quickly. "Because you are unique and wonderful and lots more interesting than ordinary fifth graders, I guess," she says. "The whole article seems to be focused on you." "Team kids won't like that," I type. "I'm sure they'll be happy for you, sweetheart." "No, they won't. Here, listen to this." She reads me the article. "Spalding Street Elementary's talented academic team of 5th and 6th graders won the local Whiz Kid team competition last night by a score of 86 to 85. With stunning skill and knowledge, they answered questions far above their grade level to defeat 7 other teams. Makes us sound smart, I tap. "And so are you," Mom replies. Math questions made me sweat. I get clammy under the arms just thinking about them. Mom continues, "Oh, here's the part about you. Listen to this. One outstanding member of the Spalding team is Melanie Brooks, an 11-year-old who has been diagnosed with cerebral palsy. In spite of her physical challenges, Melody's quick and capable mental abilities were able to shine as she led her team to victory." They will hate me. I type gloomily. Butterscotch, who still sleeps in my room, nuzzles my hand. She always seems to know how I feel, but it doesn't help this time. "Oh, don't exaggerate. I think it's a lovely article, and your friend should be proud. You don't get it." Mom ignores me and proceeds to get me ready for school. 2 blue t shirts, one to wear and one to pack just in case. 2 pairs of pants. She never picks out jeans. I decide not to argue. I have a feeling it is not going to be a good day. "What a great photo of you! I'm going to make sure I get extra copies of the paper," she chatters cheerfully as she tugs on my socks before putting on my sneakers. "I've got to make sure everybody at work sees this." Dad was finishing dressing Penny, so he brings her into my room. When Penny notices my picture in the paper, she drops Doodle and shouts, "Dee Dee!" She picks up the paper and kisses it. I bet I won't get many reactions like that at school today. Dad leans over and gives me a kiss on the cheek. "I'm so proud I could pop," he says softly. "I love you, Melody." That makes me get all teary. Just once I wish I could hug my little sister or tell my dad I love him too. In real words, not through a machine. The reaction at school today is just what I expected. Words float out of lips that say nice things to me, but eyes tell the truth. The eyes are cold, as if I had beat the reporter over the head and forced her to print that picture of me. Even Rose acts distant. "Nice picture of you in the paper, Melody," she says. "Thanks, should have been all of us." "I think so too," Rose replies. I just sigh. I can't do anything right. I don't want to be all that. I just want to be like everybody else. When we get to Mr. Dimming's class, he strides in wearing another brand new suit. There must have been a 2-for-1 sale and a brand new smile. He looks like he might explode with happiness. He carries a stack of the morning newspapers with him. "I didn't sleep at all last night," he admits to us. "I am just so very proud of our team and our school." He pauses while the class cheers for the quiz team. Rose, Molly, and Claire smile happily. Connor and Ronnie take bows. A few kids even turn around and look at me with a smile. "Do we get free pizza or something?" Connor blurts out. "Absolutely," Mr. Dimming replies. "The principal has declared that next Friday is quiz team day, and the entire school is being treated to free pizzas and sodas." More cheers from the class. Connor looks really pleased. Mr. Dimming continues, "And I want to give a special shout out to Melody, who really helped us secure a victory. Let's give her a special round of applause." He begins the clapping and the class joins in, but it seems more polite than sincere. I guess I'm not as cool as free pizza. "Who saw the 11 o'clock news last night?" Mr. D asks, still beaming. About half the kids raised their hands. I had missed it. I had fallen asleep exhausted after we got home. "I taped it and TiVoed it and put it up on MySpace," he tells us excitingly. But now he must get back to regular class activities. He sounds disappointed. "But how do we get ready for Washington?" Rose asks, obviously not ready to let him do that. "Teachers are so easily distracted. I knew he'd bite on that one." Mr. Dimming smiles again and takes a deep breath. "We have only 2 weeks to get ready, Rose. I've prepared a packet for each of my team champs," he says as he passes out the paperwork. "Take this home and bring it back tomorrow without fail. In it, I've included information about how to redeem the free plane tickets and info about our hotel and schedule for the days we are in DC. It also gives details about our practice schedule, which begins today. We will meet every day after school and half a day on Saturday. Saturday? Connor asks, disbelief in his voice. I'm worried about that too. A whole half day? If Catherine can't come, how will I get to the bathroom or eat? I'll bring bagels for breakfast, fruit for snacks, and we'll order in burgers for lunch, Mr. Dimming tells him. Sounds sort of healthy, Connor responds with a grin, but I'll be there. You skip a practice and you get bounced to the alternates, Connor. I'm in this to win. Why don't you take a couple of days off, my man? Rodney says to Connor. I'd be glad to take your place. Slide you right out in a blink. He sounds serious. No way, man. I'll show, Connor says hurriedly. Molly raises her hand. Mr. Dimming, do the alternates go to Washington also? Absolutely. So should I buy a new dress just in case I get to be on the team? That's up to you, Molly, the teacher replies. Claire raises her hand then. Mr. D, I think I know what Molly's getting at. Since there are 6 people on the DC team instead of 4, which of the alternates will you choose? We will use a point system, he replies. The students with the 6 highest scores from all of our preliminary rounds will make the final TV team. Sound fair? Claire looks satisfied at that, and she and Molly high five each other. Mr. Dimming finally gets back to regular classwork, the study of Spain and Portugal, and I do my best to do nothing to call attention to myself. No weird noises or kicks or grunts for the rest of the class, no answers to questions I know. I just sit in the back of the room with Catherine and hope the morning will pass quickly. I spend the afternoon in room H5, where we watch Tom and Jerry cartoons for 3 hours. Can you believe it? After school, Catherine feeds me a pudding cup and some juice just before it's time to go to Mr. Dimming's room for our first practice. She frowns as I finish my last sip of juice. What's bugging you, Melody? She asked. You should be on top of the world, but you're acting like somebody just popped you in the nose. They don't want me on the team, I type. That's ridiculous. You were the star last night. That's the problem. Without you, they would not have won. They're scared of me, I try to explain. They think I look funny. You never let that bother you before, she countered. It's hard to put my feelings into words that will come out right on my talker. I know the other students are uncomfortable with me on the team. There's no other way to put it. My presence was cute at first, maybe okay for a local competition, but for the big game on national television, that's different. I'll make them stand out and not in a good way. I start typing again. I make them look, I hesitate, then type in weird. You're the smartest person on the team, Catherine explains. I drool. So pack a box of tissues. I make funny noises. And Connor farts sometimes. I have to smile at that. No more of this feeling sorry for yourself, young lady. Let's get down to Mr. D's room and kick some butt. Okay, let's go, I type. We roll down to the room and I hold my head high. Well, at least as high as I can get when it isn't wobbling around. Nobody says anything more about the newspaper article, and practice goes on as usual. I answer most of the questions correctly, and by the time Mom picks me up, I feel a little better. But I do notice Rose and Claire and Molly whispering together as I leave. It could be about new music video or a shopping trip to the mall, or it could be about me.